You are now tuned into
Facebook Live
Internet Radio.
Radio, we got it on live. Catch up, new era disseminators of information. Comfortable truth, this your motherfucking station.
Facebook Live.
Internet Radio.
Peace to the motherfucking famos. This is Off Code of Uncomfortable Truths and Facebook Live Internet Radio. Shit, I ain't been over here in a minute. I ain't been over here on YouTube in a minute and shit. Dig? So let's see, I came across this motherfucking shit right here, what you see on the screen, right? I normally do this on motherfucking Facebook, and I still will continue to do it on Facebook, so long as white people still allow it, you dig? Because I was just over there doing this shit, and the motherfuckers kicked me off, right? I mean, it is what it is. You know, but before that, before we get into it, I'm going to go ahead and promote one of Detroit's finest, Nico's Phoenix. That's Nico's Phoenix. You can check him out on motherfucking Facebook. You know, he has the new motherfucking album called Mantra. Again, Mantra. Here we go.
In the city, I'm tryna pull up, come and see you. Hit me real quick on the snap, telling me to come through. Come to your spot, just hit DM notifications. Just send me your Addy location, copy and paste them to my navigation. I probably should not, but all these red lights out here making me stop. I'm running this shit just to get back to you. I take the ticket, I got nothing to lose. I'm tryna get you in your room, I'm tryna get you in the mood, I'm tryna take a swim in you. I call you on the weekends, but you always with your friends. I barely see you on the weekdays. You ain't never tryna see me. Every time that I call you, it's always a problem. But every time that I see you, I can always solve it. You know that I'm high and Mary on me and I'm rolling. Touching on me and I'm kissing your body, I'm holding. You know what I want, and I know you can provide it. Every fantasy and desire, I can provide it, baby. I cannot stop, but all these red lights out here making me go. I'm running to your love, I'm running some more, running some more. Make sure that you coming, it's really my mission. When I get permission, if I'm in your sleep, give you wet dreams that can give you what she's called. I call you on the weekends, but you always with your friends. I barely see you on the weekdays. You ain't never tryna see me. Every time that I call you, it's always a problem. But every time that I see you, I can always solve it.
Peace to the motherfucking famos. Again, this is Off Code of Uncomfortable Truths. Peace to the famo Indigo Child. You dig? Appreciate you coming out to here. Facebook Live Internet Radio on motherfucking YouTube. You dig? Now, the shit that you see on the screen is very motherfucking interesting. Something that I came across with Jesse Lee Peterson and a Black Lives Matter activist or co-founder, whatever one the fuck you want to call it and shit. You dig? And her name is, I think it's Patrice Cullors, right? And the whole conversation was very motherfucking interesting. And I want to say this from the goddamn onset. I do not advocate nor participate in talking shit about other victims due to their paradigms, you know, what the fuck they think and all of that kind of shit. You know, for me, that shit is weak, right? However, we will observe our motherfucking behaviors up under white domination. That's what the fuck we gonna do. We gonna do that, right? So I came across this one, and I want to let y'all hear their conversation. I'm gonna play that right now. Here we go.
I have with me Patrice Marie Cullors. She is an artist, organizer, and freedom fighter on the Black Lives Matter team. A call to action in response to the way their lives are being devalued. Patrice, welcome to the show and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you.
All right. How did you get involved with Black Lives Matter?
Actually, myself, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tameti, after the George Zimmerman acquittal last year, we created the hashtag Black Lives Matter. And we created that hashtag from a place of grief, but also from a place of wanting to declare that Black lives matter, and that is important that we, as a nation, really.
Now it sounds like to me she's saying she's one of the founders. Then I might be inaccurate about that. I'm just listening to what she's saying. Here we go.
Look at the problems of race in this country, and then obviously this year the hashtag has just taken on a life of its own, and myself and Darnell Moore, we co-organized a Black Lives Matter ride to St. Louis Ferguson, the third week after the uprisings there. And so we organized over 600 people.
Got the 5 more cigarettes in this motherfucker. BCG, gang gang.
Black people to drive into St. Louis and Ferguson. We stayed there for 2 days. And I think at that point, the hashtag was brought back to over 20 plus cities.
That's amazing. And you're located here in LA, right?
Yep, Los Angeles, California.
Explain to us some of the demands of Black Lives Matter.
Now, here's where it gets very interesting at, right? When she starts to explain what are some of the demands. And I would suspect if a motherfucker's on some kind of syndicated radio program or something, they will say the most pressing things in the onset. Let's see.
One of our biggest demands that we're going to be really working on for this upcoming year is...
oh yeah, Resh, you can call in too. The motherfucking line is open, and then if anyone wants to call in, that number is on your screen, 716-293-7071. The PIN number 89197. Here we go.
Calling on local city councils and county governments to look at how they're allocating funding specifically towards law enforcement and not.
Hold on, let me go back to that. I think we missed it. Here we go.
Working on for this upcoming year is calling on local city councils and county governments to look at how they're allocating funding.
She said city governments and local counties. Now, when she says this, in my mind, I'm thinking white people, right? Because either it's true or not that white people are the motherfuckers that's overwhelmingly classified as the motherfucking state, You know, that old euphemism and shit, the state. You dig? So that's one observation. I could be inaccurate about that. You tell me. Here we go.
Specifically towards law enforcement and not into alternatives in our communities like jobs, housing, access to healthy food. And so we're going to be really trying to.
Now, right there, jobs, housing, and food. Food, clothing, and shelter. This is something that a lot of our so-called pro-blacks and so-called conscious community speak about, right? Now, I'm not going to omit the fact that she's a female, okay? It makes perfect motherfucking sense for her to be advocating for food, clothing, and shelter as a female, being that that's a biological imperative of a female. You did? And to seek those specifically from males. However, up under white domination, BAPs don't depend on us for shit. For nothing. Unfortunately. And I highly suspect from a lot of the rhetoric that I've heard in the past couple of months and shit, you know what I'm saying, at this point in time, 2017, if anybody's talking about white supremacy and all of that shit, I've heard plenty of BAPs, even though I don't know all BAPs, I've heard plenty of rhetoric that suggests that, you know, at this point, they look at that shit as an excuse. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that, don't want to hear that shit, blah, blah, blah. Go out there and do something. Do what? We don't know, but we know what we want. Right? And it's understandable. You dig? Let's continue.
To pass resolutions at city councils and county governments as well as in Congress to push forward a model that would really look at how we can figure out how our communities can be resourced. That's not just about resourcing law enforcement.
So you
now again, I'm gonna be chopping in and out. I'm gonna be double dutching in this shit, as Rest say. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it should be understood and not talk shit about that this is a female and her motherfucking ideology and her paradigm is speaking to her biology. You dig? She's seeking these things from white people because she knows she can't get it from us. I'm pretty sure she's seen that in her life. You know what I'm saying? However, the question becomes, what the fuck does that make BAMs look like? You know what I'm saying? Now, I went on their website at one point. It seems like they revamped the motherfucking shit. You dig? They revamped it, switched it up. Back when I first saw the shit, I didn't hear them saying anything about BAMs. It was all about BAPs and children. Now, I see they've revised it and shit, maybe because motherfuckers done said some shit about it. You know, however, that's interesting, and we're going to put an asterisk in that motherfucker, that it was nothing said about BAMs. Right? So it's kind of like we go back to the whole theory of protection and provision. And unfortunately for BAPs on a whole, or to a statistically relevant amount, the state is the ultimate protector and provider. Those white men and white women who collectively call themselves the state. Not me, not you, black male who's listening to this shit, right? Not none of us, unfortunately. And so she's pleading to motherfucking white people and shit to do this. You know, all of that goddamn rah-rah shit, you know, I mean, you know, we hear them doing the rah-rah shit. Yeah, we want this, we want that. All they're doing is just asking in an aggressive way. That's it. They're not demanding shit. Because how the fuck you gonna demand motherfuckers who running your ass? We got a Sir Rest on the line. Peace, famo.
Peace. Gang, gang, gang.
Gang, gang, gang.
You know how it is.
BCG in this motherfucking shit. You dig? Now, have you been listening thus far and shit?
Yeah, I caught a little bit of it as far as you know, she's basically describing exactly what she, you know, heard a man supposedly, or what she, you know, saying that Black Lives Matter is about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a just, you know me. I'm a fall back. I'm a double dutch in a second and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm a
Dig it.
I want to hear the rest of exactly what she's saying, but I do agree with you as far as speaking, as far as you know, this is a female speaking, so it's okay. Uh, you know, as far as the provision and protection, um, we do hear a lot of our baths out there, you know, saying that. Uh, so, you know, I'm in the agreement. You know what I'm saying? I definitely would like to hear more, and I'm definitely here to say something, you know? Gang, gang.
Absolute gang, motherfucking gang. Now, I want to say this shit before I continue as well. Again, not talking shit about the bath. However, we should motherfucking analyze this shit. Okay? She already knows, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, that you don't go to niggas for this shit. You go to white people. And that's what the fuck she doing. Okay? I mean, what the fuck motherfuckers... I mean, most of us go to fucking white people for jobs and all that kind of shit any motherfucking way. You did? However, I got some more shit to play for y'all that's gonna put a goddamn cap on this motherfucker, like boop. But here we go. Let's listen.
We're using this occasion to get more government finance or programs into the black community.
Ex-
Hold on. Let's see what he asked her.
That's not just about resourcing law enforcement.
So you're using this occasion to get more government finance or programs into the black community.
Exactly.
Exactly. You heard it right, Resh? You still there, Famo?
Oh, yeah, I heard it loud and clear. Exactly.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? What is something that the people we came from spoke about before? They talked about, you know, how the government assistance of welfare and Lyndon B. Johnson's motherfucking what is it, war on poverty and all that kind of shit. How it came in and fucked up an already fucked up situation. And we done heard a lot of fucking arguments about that shit, right, Resh?
Most definitely have.
You know what I'm saying? And yet, it still persists. And again, we understand that that's going to be our fault as BAMs. Because, you know, everything is our fault. Okay, we'll take that. You dig? However, I'm still going to put that motherfucker out there to say, God damn it, I inherited this shit with no motherfucking blueprint on how to remedy the goddamn issues. So I'm gonna keep that in the motherfucking forefront. You're not gonna shame me and turn my motherfucking choices, the few choices that I have as a motherfucking slave, into a goddamn what would they call it, Resh? An obligation. I ain't obligated to you. I'm not. I'm only obligated to those whom I choose to be obligated to. I'm not obligated to all motherfucking baths. I'm not. And I won't be. Okay? Just like baths are not obligated to, let's say, give pussy to any old Tom, Dick, and Harry. I'm not obligated to motherfucking provide for you. Or attempt to provide for you. Or do anything for you. It goes back to the old shaming tactic of, yo, mama black. God damn it. Yes, my mama is classified as black. But she ain't you. And you're not her. Just like I'm not your son. That individual who has intrinsic value, meaning he ain't got to do shit for you. He's special just because he is. He's a part of your bloodline. He ain't got to do shit. He could be a bum ass motherfucker fucking over other females and shit. And that's still your baby. Okay? That's still my mom. She has intrinsic value. She ain't got to do shit. You do. Just like I got to do shit to get up in them legs and get that honor and all that kind of shit. So do you. So we're going to go back to this. Here we go.
But isn't that's one of the primary reasons that black people are, not all but most, are so morally bankrupt is because government has been taking care of them for the last 50 or 60 years or so. Government is hurting them rather than helping them. Why do you want more government programs in the black community?
I think that it's, I mean, I don't know if it's government that's been morally bankrupt.
No, well, it's the
or black
government
folks
that has
been
helped.
morally
Right.
bankrupt by the lack of government services.
No, not the lack of too much government support has devalued black Americans.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think there hasn't been enough support. I think
There hasn't been enough support. Hey, Resh, speak to that, famo.
Well, you know, I mean, I don't know what to say, really. I mean, she said it hasn't been enough support in there, so, I mean, I don't know what perspectives that she meaning by that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a whole bunch of support. I mean, we got law enforcement there every day, especially if you're in an urban situation. We got the local family care, which is basically the abortion clinic. We definitely have abundant lawyers and funeral homes, liquor stores. All these is not none of ours, so it's like, you know, I mean, especially welfare, Section 8, EBT card. Yeah, but he could carry it. But go ahead. I want to really hear out because I know we, you know, I want to definitely get out what I want to say once they in. You know what I'm saying? I already know the alley hoop.
Bet that. We definitely gonna do that and shit. You know, at the end and shit, he's just gonna do a lot of fucking name calling and all of that shit because he's there with a suspected racist. Well, actually, he's there with a motherfucker who, in one program, he admitted that he was a racist. But, you know, just put that in the back of your mind. Here we go.
especially for me, growing up in Los Angeles, I grew up in poverty and watched my mother work 3+ jobs. Barely was able to see her. And as I went to school, I witnessed how mostly communities of color, black communities, were segregated even in our own schools, tracked into sort of lower education. And I think that the government hasn't actually done enough for black people.
Amazing. Were you born out of wedlock?
Go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead, Resh.
Oh, I'm just saying, you know, she ain't gonna say nothing about her daddy though. You know what I'm saying? Said her mama worked 3 jobs. Her mama worked 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Just casually mentioned
nothing about daddy.
Casually mentioned him. You know what I'm saying? Did she? Did she casually mention him? Like, yeah, I was with my.
Him at all.
Oh, okay. That's very fucking interesting right there. You know what I'm saying? Let's continue. You know what? No. What I heard rather, was how she said the state. And, you know, a lot of us use ambiguous ass terms like the state. Who the fuck do you mean when you say the state? It's kind of like how white people say shit like, there's institutionalized racism, but the people in the institution are not racist. It's tantamount to these motherfuckers saying that no, the people are not racist. The building is racist. The goddamn policies are racist, not the people who enforce them, who rewrite the motherfuckers, and none of that shit. It's the building and the policies. You dig? And I think this is something that gets in our motherfucking way. The language is a huge ass motherfucking barrier. Huge. Let's continue.
No, I was not.
So your father was in the home,
Yes.
and yet the two of them could not raise a family?
Not with. I don't understand your question.
Did
Could not
you-
raise a family.
Right. He like, wait a minute.
Hold on. You
Wait
know,
a minute.
it's almost like she's
Might tell on
anticipating.
myself.
Exactly. It seems like, and I've witnessed this myself and my own personal experience. I'm not saying that this is indicative of all BAPs. However, I've seen it quite a bit. Well, it seems like the majority of those that I've dealt with, instead of answering your question, they're anticipating what you might be trying to say. You know what I'm saying? So that they could not do what Resh was just saying just a second ago. You know, get themselves caught up in a place where they got to pull themselves up out that shit. Like, oh, you contradicted yourself. You did.
Right.
However, I could be inaccurate. Let's continue.
Did your father work?
Yes, he did.
Daddy
Yes,
worked.
he worked for GM Van Nuys.
And your mother worked as well?
She sure did.
Well, why were
There you
you
go.
poor?
I have no idea. I think because we live in a capitalist system that some people have a lot of wealth and some people don't.
You don't support capitalism?
I think what I support is families being able to feed their children regularly. And I think the current system that we live under doesn't allow for all families to live a life of dignity.
Do you support capitalism?
I support systems that support communities, and in this current government, it's not about capitalism or not.
Now, here's the interesting part, Resh, and to the listening audience, that capitalism is a part of that government that she's talking about. She's going to talk to, and that is in the forefront of Black Lives Matter agenda and shit, to talk to about relocating, relocation or reallocation of funds and shit. That funds comes out of the capitalist system. So it's interesting that she wants to dance around this shit. Let's continue.
I think it's more about who's taken care of and who's not taken care of.
Do you support capitalism?
I'm not understanding your question.
Do you support capitalism or not? He hung up.
That's that block and delete shit. You know?
Block.
He hung
That's
up.
that block and delete.
Yeah, you blocked, motherfucker. Fuck you. I ain't answering
James,
nothing.
get her back. See if she'll come back. Call her again.
Shit gonna come back.
My question was quite simple. Do you support capitalism or not? And the answer is no, I believe, but she wouldn't say it. She support more government. See, folks, this is what's going on in America. They want more government.
You was about to say something, Rush?
I don't know. I mean, you know, it's just it is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know, I don't know his intention. You know, as far as you know, like you said, it's also affected racist sitting right there. You know, and then also, you know, looking at the logic of what he just said as far as more government, whatever, such and such, then, you know, her just not answering the question. I mean, all in all, you know, I don't know. I don't know what the intentions of her is to come with that lie. But then you got to think of this perspective of where she coming from. Is she a part of the LGBTQ
Yes.
community, right?
Yes.
Right. So if she a part of the LGBTQ, the lesbian community, whatever, and if she's probably a suspected feminist, we don't know, whatever, or, you know, if that maybe led her to mention her mother working 3 jobs and her dad working at a well-known company. So if it's a well-known company in that neighborhood, that neighborhood was built around that company. So her dad was making good money coming to the crib. You know what I'm saying? Or at least okay money. So I don't know about that 3 jobs from the moms. You know what I'm saying? We don't know the situation, but the point is, it's like, I don't know, some funny shit going on.
I think it goes to the narrative that we've already heard and shit, and it's kind of pathetic that a lot of us can't swat down a lot of this kind of shit. Like some people, Bams and Baps, will say shit like, quote, black men don't care about black women, end quote, right? As if your family members don't consist of so-called black women. You know what I'm saying? It's like they wish to be treated the same way as them without actually doing anything to get that intrinsic value. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe some of them equate the intrinsic value of giving up pussy. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm giving you this pussy. I give you the best years of my life,
Right.
You know what I'm
What
saying?
the hell?
Like, what the fuck? This is a mutual exchange. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you something that I was born with. You're giving me something that you were born with. And it's not, it's interesting to observe the shit simply because it's like females are maybe maybe it's intrinsic or innate, or it's nurtured. Maybe it's nature or nurture, that they expect something for their pussy. And if you don't give it to them, then they're upset. So it's almost like they're whoring themselves out, but then getting mad at you because you don't give them the payment that they feel that they deserve. What do you think about that, Resh?
Man, it's just a levels of prostitution. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, I'm gonna just be real and call it for what it is. You know what I mean? There's different levels. Some are night walkers, and some actually got the house, the ring in the car, with the red door, the white picket fence. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just different levels to it. So I mean, our society shapes this shit.
Right.
It's sad, especially in our community. We have a lot of us striving to, fit in that characteristics or those categories or whatever. I know we mentioned on a couple shows as far as the structure of the relationship in the black community. It's really mimicking white people relationships. So it's like all that, it's just some extra shit, man, with us in our community, and it's just confused because it ain't of us. And with this topic tonight, as far as with Lives Matter and shit, that's a dam in the bath. You know what I'm saying? And it's as far as I don't know if he has intentions of throwing her under the bus, like you say. We here on Facebook Live Radio, it's more about observing behaviors, just so we don't perpetuate such behaviors. I don't know his intention was as far as in alliance with Respected. You know what I'm saying? So, and then also with her, because we don't know. I hear, Jewish people is behind all that. It's all these types of things that's going on with that whole situation. So it's just like we're just puppets in all this little big ass game or this arena that they already got set up. And once we all realize that shit, or at least a nice number of us, constructive of, you know what I'm saying, just want to do something that's then we'll stop perpetuating this shit for the youngin'. That's what it's all about. Gang.
What the fuck was the last thing? Well, she hung up, when he was asking her a direct question. He did. Fuck that. I'm not answering that shit. However, you've already answered it by talking about what you're seeking from suspected racists, the white women and white men who collectively call themselves the state. Now, do you have some so-called black people in those seats? Yeah. But they're not the dominant motherfuckers up in there. You know what I'm saying? You're asking white people for motherfucking help. And it's understood, especially up under white domination. But it's interesting how we could negate that when we're talking about things like these. We'll say, well, you know, they're doing the right thing and shit. You know what I'm saying? But then on the flip side of that, omit how white domination impacts BAMs. In 2017, it's like, fuck that. You making up excuses. Y'all niggas ain't shit. Y'all niggas weak. You know what I'm saying? We're just doing what, quote, women do. You know? I mean, that's interesting to the motherfucker. You know? It's not about talking shit. Again, like Resh said, it's about observations. Right? So that we can understand what we're looking at. Because I maintain that, unfortunately, we've been bred to be retard versions of white people. I don't give a fuck if you call yourself Akabulan, Ibubu, all that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? You wear African garb and all that kind of shit. Okay? The primary paradigm that you use to navigate this goddamn country is a white one. Our goddamn thoughts on what motherfucking prosperity is, what living good is, it's all steeped in the goddamn framework of white people. They are our reference group. These people are our goddamn primary role models, and a lot of us don't want to talk about that shit. Hell, me and Resh was talking about this shit earlier about we talking about BAMs and BAFs, where it seems like, and I could be inaccurate, but here's my theory, that there's an intrinsic jealousy. If you don't know what intrinsic means, look it up. Jealousy that a significant amount of BAFs, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, have for white women. And when you go on the flip side, you're talking about BAMs, we have this adoration, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, for white men and the position that they're in and what the fuck they get to enjoy and all of that kind of shit. But we don't want to deal with that shit. We just want to talk about how we kings and queens, you know, we the gods and all that fuck shit. That feel good shit, as Resh would say. Got something to add on that, Resh?
I mean, of course. I mean, it's putting a lot of us in some fucked up ass positions. You know what I'm saying? With shaming tactics, you know, I mean, there's so many ways that it goes about. I was just watching the show and you know, the BAF was saying that, you know, the BAM was coming at her because he says that all of them is under the you know, this thumb and it's back and forth, and you know, there was no understanding there and shit. And it's like we need to get some type of, you know, foundation as far as understanding where we trying to go, as far as the direction, as far as the goal, at least the constructive one, instead of you know, at least throwing some shit up under the table, you know what I'm saying, with everybody, because we ain't getting no progress. And it's all about everybody trying to get acceptance and seeking this what you want to call it, a narcissism environment. You know what I'm saying? We have BAMs and BAFs, but we have a lot of BAMs, you know what I'm saying, suffering from triple consciousness. We have a lot of BAMs suffering from her, you know what I'm saying, hyper-emotional revolutionary rhetoric. So, you know, it's on both of us that we victims in this shit, and we trying to figure some shit out, because this our first time here. You know what I'm saying? This shit been fucking mapped out before motherfucking our great-grandparents was here and shit. You know what I'm saying? So instead of a lot of us just coming to the whole pointing fingers type situation, it's like, man, motherfuckers ain't even challenging the motherfuckers who, or even thinking about some other shit, some outside shit. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I'm saying? Some constructive shit, like to go against the grain. You know what I'm saying? But it's so focused on the negativity that, hey, and self-serving need, so it is what it is.
Now, I'm hearing what the famo saying, right? But I will add this as well. You know, it's interesting when we start talking about when we use shit like us. You know, because like I said before, I maintained that at the end of all conversations that have to do with black people talking about our situation, invariably, it's our fault. It's our fault. Everything is our fault. We left the homes. We ain't providing. We're not leaders. You know what I'm saying? We turn motherfuckers, turn, quote, good girls into bad girls, end quote. You know, all that kind of shit. It's all on us. So, you know, for me, a tenet of BAMhood is making what I call, or what I coined as, constructive unilateral decision making. Okay, unilateral meaning we not looking to BAFs, generally speaking, because there are exceptions to every damn thing. However, generally speaking, we're not looking to them for suggestions, because if you can't be held accountable for anything, why should I talk to you? Why should I ask you anything? You know, if a motherfucker gonna fail and shit, let me fail, because I made a decision so that I could put it all on myself. So BAMs can put it all on ourselves. We fucked up. Now, if we got BAPs and that motherfucker in a large, statistically relevant amount, saying this is what we want, this is what we want, and all that kind of shit, at that point, I suspect it, once the shit falls apart, or there's some goddamn kink inside the shit, it's not going to be their fault for their suggestions. It's not. They're going to say some shit like, you know, y'all just didn't implement it right.
Y'all the man.
You feel me? You the man. Why you asking me? It's kind of like asking a motherfucker what you want to eat. I don't know. All right. All right.
Oh, shit.
Why you asking me, motherfucker? You the man. You know what I'm saying? And around this motherfucker, we want to make that shit clear. We abhor the goddamn term man. I'm not a fucking man. I'm not trying to live up to that. Because unfortunately, can't live up to that and still be classified as black. Unfortunately. If you have motherfucking shit to the contrary and you think that it's possible, prove it. Don't talk me to death. Don't talk me to death. Prove it. Show me a statistically relevant amount of so-called black men who are doing things that you think or have been induced to think that, quote, men do and don't do. Show me that versus your goddamn exceptions, you know, because exceptions, there's always exceptions. What the fuck, we gonna make that the rule? Because if we're gonna do that, we could say we shouldn't have, none of us who do that should have anything to say when certain white people come up and say, what's wrong with them niggas? You know, they got Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z, Beyonce, all these basketball players and shit. What's wrong with them niggas? Why they so fucked up? Them niggas got to be dumb. Don't get mad at them. Don't try to make it work for when it fits your motherfucking agenda and shit. But when they say it, they're wrong and they're racist. Now, they might be racist. However, it doesn't negate the fact that you're trying to use that shit to your motherfucking benefit. If it's right over on that motherfucking spectrum, it could be also accurate on this motherfucking spectrum. What the fuck is wrong with us? If we got all these exceptions, which I couldn't even tell you what's the percentage of motherfuckers who are well off in our group. However, I suspect, highly suspect, that it's a small amount. I wouldn't even say it was fucking 15%. What you think, Rush?
Yeah, hell no. I definitely wasn't thinking nowhere near that. I wasn't even thinking 5%. Shit. Yeah.
Nah, I don't know how we measure that, because that's not what we do.
Huh?
No, go ahead.
Saying, especially if the ones that is, they probably off in some other country, and they probably don't even identify themselves as what we call black. So, you know, it is what it is, man.
Matter of fact,
It is what it is.
I wanted to go and find this other one though with her, Patrice Colors, right? Let me see. Let me, cause she made a very interesting statement in a what is this? In a motherfucking conversation with a white woman. Let me see if I can find this shit. Give me a motherfucking second. She was having a personal conversation with this suspected racist white bitch. God damn it. Let me see. Maybe I go to queer meaning. Because she said something along the lines of that one of her intentions specifically is to, quote, queer the movement.
And what that supposed to be?
What is a queer?
Oh, she said queer. Oh, I thought you said clear.
No, queer the movement.
Oh, so now it's Black Lives and Queer Lives Matter.
Your guess is as good as mine,
Is that
famo.
what they implementing? All right.
Let me see. Let me type this into Google. Should have had this shit already, but fuck that. I ain't getting paid for this shit. Whatever.
Right.
Patrice Colors. CULLORS. Says that she wants to clear the movement. Let's see. Go to the videos. Queerness on the front line. On the front lines of Black Lives Matter. Let's see. Hold on, I think this is it right here. Let's see. Okay, yep.
And so not only have domestic workers who are largely black been excluded from federal labor protections and now are largely immigrant, right? But
of Black Lives Matter. It was a call to action for black people after the killing of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. Ever since, others have been adapting the Black Lives Matter slogan and turning it kind of into their own, some version of All Lives Matter or something like it. Explaining why that's a problem is just one of the challenges the Black Lives Matter movement's facing. It's also up against a media that would love to narrow its goals to a few police prosecutions. Women are at the heart of the movement, specifically young black women, many of them calling themselves queer. One of those leaders is Alicia Garza, co-founder of Black Lives Matter and Special Projects Director for the National Domestic Workers Alliance.
Oh, my bad. This is Alicia Garza who said this. She's one of the co-founders. This is not the initial one who was speaking to Jesse Lee Peterson, but this is one of her.
And who
quote,
she works for again?
She's one of the co-founders with the first one, Patrice Colors and Alicia Garza.
Who she works for? Well, who they say she works for? Like, what is her job title?
Let's see.
That's the job she works for.
I'm not sure if they said.
Yeah, play that back one more time. Play that back.
Here we go.
Or something like it. Explaining why that's a problem is just one of the challenges the Black Lives Matter movement's facing. It's also up against a media that would love to narrow its goals to a few police prosecutions. Women are at the heart of the movement, specifically young black women, many of them calling themselves queer. One of those leaders is Alicia Garza, co-founder of Black Lives Matter and Special Projects Director for the National Domestic Workers Alliance.
Special Project Matter for the Special Alliance Program? Wait a minute. Hold on. That was interesting. Let me go back.
Yeah, I had to catch that one.
Hold on,
Many of them calling themselves queer. One of those leaders is Alicia Garza, co-founder of Black Lives Matter and Special Projects Director for the National Domestic Workers Alliance.
National Domestic Workers Alliance. Let me see. Let me look that up right quick. National Domestic Workers Alliance. Okay, let's see what they are. About Us. Give me a second for the phone to National Domestic Workers Alliance. About Us. The National Domestic Alliance Workers Alliance is the nation's leading voice for dignity and fairness for millions of domestic workers in the United States, most of whom are women. Founded in 2007, NDWA works for the respect, recognition, and inclusion in labor protections for domestic workers. The National Alliance is powered by over 60 affiliate organizations plus robust local chapters in Atlanta, Durham, and New York of over 20,000 nannies, home workers, and caregivers for the elderly in 36 cities and 17 states. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, I'm gonna play it right. Here we go.
Here to talk about the origins, inspirations, and next steps for Black Lives Matter, I'm very happy to welcome Alicia Garza to the Laura Flanders Show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, where to begin? Well, let's begin where it began. You and Patrice Marie Cullors and Opal Tometi co-founded Black Lives Matter. Who the heck are you, and how did you come up with it?
Well, Black Lives Matter really started as a love note to our people in the aftermath of the acquittal of George Zimmerman in the murder of Trayvon Martin. I know I personally felt like I got punched in the gut. I have a 25-year-old brother who's 6 feet tall and has...
See that? See the intrinsic value coming out?
Right.
I have a 6-foot brother. Here we go.
A huge afro and just the sweetest person you could ever meet. And he's growing up in a predominantly white suburban community. And so was Trayvon, right? And he was stalked and killed by an aspiring security guard who felt that Trayvon didn't belong there. And so Black Lives Matter was really a response to some of the responses that we were seeing even in response to the acquittal. So we were hearing things like, on the cynic side, we knew justice was never going to be served for Black people, which, I mean, living Black in America, we do know that it's rare that justice is served for Black communities, but that didn't feel like the right response. The other thing we were hearing was, this is a terrible tragedy, and so what we need to do is X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z being pull up your pants. X, Y, and Z being we need to vote, we need better education, we need stronger families. But all of those things really blame Black communities for our own conditions. So Black Lives Matter was an attempt for us to rehumanize us in a world that so profoundly dehumanizes us. And it was a call to action. And we were able to, both because we're all organizers and because people like Opal have incredible skills in building online platforms, we were able to use that to build connections online so that people can take action together offline.
For a lot of people, your movement and your frame of Black Lives Matter really hit their consciousness
that white bitch old motherfucker.
After the police killings in Missouri. Talk a little bit about how this has grown, how your day-to-day managing and organizing is changing, and some of the things that you think you're up against.
Well, I think what's important to know about Black Lives Matter and how it really took off is that when Mike Brown was killed in August of 2014, Patrice and Darnell Moore, who is a scholar activist here in New York.
Matter of fact, I want to stop this right quick, right, Resh? And I want to say this. Now, I I could be inaccurate in what I'm about to say. I'm gonna say that from the beginning, right? It seems like the bodies of dead BAMs or young black males are the stepping stools to this organization who is primarily rallied around LGBTQ activism. Did you notice that, Resh?
Yeah. Disposable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we disposable. I mean, we don't. She mentioned the intrinsic value she has for her brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like shit. They not looking for shit from no males. If we talking about this queer community, they don't want no dick. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, they want some pussy.
I'm just gonna be real.
They want some pussy.
They lint looking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They looking for lick. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, shit, hell yeah. Motherfucker, shit. These motherfuckers disposable anyway. These motherfuckers, before I figured that I was a queer or whatever I'm calling myself, they made fun of my awkward ass bodies or whatever and shit in high school. So fuck them. Hell yeah, shit. Look, we gonna take our movement that we wasn't getting no shining no light on. We gonna hop on this movement right now that make these niggas disposable, and we gonna get our demands. Not saying that's what happened though. I'm just, I just throw that out there.
Absolutely. Let's continue.
New York called for a Black Lives Matter Freedom Ride, and that drew more than 500 black people from across the country who in 10 days raised the money, got on buses, vans, planes, however folks could get there to really support the work that was happening in Ferguson, and also to bear witness to the incredible Jim Crow situation that still exists today. From that ride, people got excited about and really felt passionately about bringing what they had seen and what they had learned back to their communities. So what we saw, right, were people who were inspired by the actions that people were taking on the front lines in Ferguson, the non-compromising way that folks said, we will not compromise for our freedom. We are going to be free no matter what. The ways in which folks there were really challenging respectability politics. And also the ways that people were building relationships together, knowing, right, that maybe folks hadn't been connected before, but certainly that they knew that they were going to be connected forever because of what had happened. One of the ways that we've seen it grow, right, is that it's moved not just nationally, but internationally. We saw Afro-Colombian domestic workers sending pictures and photos saying Black Lives Matter. We saw folks from South Africa, folks from Ireland, folks from all over the world sending messages, not just of solidarity, but lifting up the conditions that Black people are facing in their countries. And so the growth of the project, right, has really been a message of self-determination, of liberation, and a call to rehumanize us around the world, which has been incredibly inspiring. I don't even know what to say about that.
It also gets to the point that I alluded to in the introduction, which is in their efforts to show their solidarity and their connection with you, to put the most positive spin on most of it, we've also seen this kind of genericizing of the slogan to all lives matter, or, I don't know, my life matters. You've written very powerfully about how shedding differences is not helpful. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So first I'll say that changing Black Lives Matter to All Lives Matter is not an act of solidarity. What it is a demonstration of how we don't actually understand structural racism in this country. When we say all lives matter, that's a given, right? Of course, we're all human beings, we all bleed red, but the fact of the matter is some human lives are valued more than others, and that's a problem. The other thing that we've seen, right, is replacing black with other things. I saw animal lives matter one time, and I just threw up a little bit in my mouth, actually. Because, you know, in this country, we commodify things, and we commodify movements. We see people like Ford, you know, doing commercials that say the American Revolution, right? But what I think is important here is that we've been pushing people to really talk about what does structural racism look like in this country. It's not about people being mean to each other. That's just the smallest bit. it's about interpersonal dynamics that are backed by systemic power, right? And so when we look at that, we see that Black people are on the losing end of every disparity that you can possibly think of. And so not only is it not appropriate to not be paying attention to Black lives in this country, but it's certainly not appropriate to just erase Black from the conversation.
And not only are Black lives on the receiving end, as you put it, but Black lives and stolen labor was at the heart of the way we created our society. That's an important piece of it too. You've said...
Yeah, another important piece, bitch, is what are you doing to rectify that versus just saying that stolen labor was used? You mouthy white bitch.
When Black people are free, everybody's free. For people that sort of scratch their heads at that, can you explain?
Sure. So the way that race works in this country is really on a Black to white spectrum. And the closer you are to Black, the worse off you are. When we talk about Black liberation being intrinsic to everybody's liberation, we're really talking about how systems in this country have been not only built off of the backs of Black people and exploited labor, but certainly have been crafted to exclude and exploit Black people. And so if we're able to dismantle those systems, everybody has a better chance of living a better life. For example, we have domestic workers in this country who still are not covered under federal labor protections because of a compromise between Southern lawmakers, right, and white-controlled and dominated labor unions. Well, if we were able to, and that's a structural issue.
Back to the 30s, never been
Absolutely,
changed.
never been changed, even today. Now, if domestic workers and farm workers had federal labor protections, right, that means that all workers in this country benefit. Because what it means is that there's not a separate and unequal system that you can be kicked in between, right? If there's a group of workers that don't have rights, that means that your rights are being threatened, right? Because there's going to be an excuse at some point to take your rights away from you. And we're seeing that now with the state of labor unions and the fight that people are waging even to form labor unions.
Nobody knows that more than domestic workers. How does your work with the domestic workers relate to Black Lives Matter? You've touched on it right there, but in terms of structure, are you kind of straddling, or is it all one, or how did these two movements connect?
Everybody asks me that question.
Oh, they do. Tuesday and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays.
You know, it's really all the same work. So domestic workers, and in particular the work I do with Black domestic workers, are mothers who are trying to protect their families from state violence. The way that we talk about state violence with Black Lives Matter is that state violence equals structural racism. And so not only have domestic workers who are largely Black been excluded from federal labor protections and now are largely immigrant, right?
And how are they protecting them from, what she just say, Resh? State danger? Huh?
I don't know what that is. I don't know that.
I just don't know how she's protecting them from state danger. You know, how the ones who are a part of that, how are they going about that shit? Protecting them from state danger. You know, is it that...
Putting them in state homes?
I don't know.
Women in battered shelters?
That's interesting. Let me see what these white people gonna do about this. Hey, I'm a girl. This kind of goes back to Sojourner Truth. Ain't I a woman? Here we go.
But they are mothers who are living in communities that are being terrorized by unaccountable police departments. They are mothers who are living in communities where the schools are failing, where there's a lack of investment, where wages are falling, where there's high unemployment. And these are also folks who are caring for other people's families and not having the space or the time or the resources to care for their own. And that has impacts on whether or not their family is able to survive.
Going back to her job,
so it really is a one and the same. The other thing I think is important about the connection between the two is that it is all about empowering women, women of color, immigrant women, low-income women.
All about empowering women.
All women. We all sisters, baby. Fuck you. Here we go.
Bringing the margins back to the center to really shape our vision for a new economy a new democracy and a new society.
I'm with you right there. Women at the center. Women at the center.
Women at the center.
African American, many of them queer women, are at the center of the Black Lives Matter movement. Not that you would know that.
What happened to the black, Gresh? I ain't hear her say black in that.
Thrown right out there. Hey, she just included the suspected in there.
You did? Women. Young, queer women. What was the black at? Where the Black Lives Matter shit at? And let's see if this BAF will correct her. Okay, let's see.
From the media coverage. Why? Why is it so hard for journalists to tell a story with leaders like yourself?
Like you,
getting the
bitch?
recognition they deserve? Maybe I shouldn't ask you that question, but ask someone else. But
some of it is habit and practice. Some of it is about, it's intentional at times. But I do think that part of it is that the way that we understand how movements happen in this country is behind one charismatic leader. And it's really hard for people to wrap their heads around a movement that is full of leaders. But that's how our homes work. That's how our communities work. That's how our workplaces work, whether or not we want to talk about it. And so we're just trying to reflect our own realities, right? And we're trying to create more pathways for more people to participate and engage. If we want a full democracy in this country, we can't just have people following one person.
Oh yeah, and again, we got a couple more viewers and shit. If y'all want to be a part of the conversation, you see the goddamn number on the screen, 716-293-7071. The PIN number is 89197. Here we go.
Everyone has to feel like they have a stake in shaping the kind of world that we live in. Otherwise, we get into a situation like the one that we're living in now, where nobody's happy with the leadership that we're getting. And honestly, people don't know what are the pathways to participate besides casting your vote, which in and of itself is a very flawed system, as we know.
what does the word queer mean to you?
Queer, to me, is an umbrella term that incorporates folks who are outside of the heterosexual norm. And
nah, fuck that. Let me look this shit up, cause we get this shit from white people, right? Let me look this shit up.
Cause now we including white people in that shit too. It's what the fuck? It's all type of shit that motherfuckers is creating bonds with and shit.
We're all queers. Come on, let's go fuck these motherfuckers up.
The umbrella.
Queer.
That's the umbrella.
Adjective 1, strange, odd. Verb, informal, spoil or ruin. What the fuck? Okay, let's go to HuffPost. It says being queer means queer is not a term that is universally recognized and understood in the common vernacular. So in honor of Pride this weekend, I attempted to present the many different sides of what being queer means. Queer can be used to describe someone's sexual orientation or stand as a political statement. Ah, fuck it. Ah, hell no. See that shit? See how the English language is equivocal? You going all over the goddamn place. So you could just pick one. Like, yep, I'm queer. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
One word can mean multiple motherfucking things, and we wonder why there's confusion in our conversations.
Right.
Okay.
Political stance. Fuck.
You heard the shit? You could be sexual orientation or stand as a political statement. Its definition has many dimensions, from gender identification to a resistance against structural rigidity, right, to a strange sensation or state of being queer. What? Matter of fact, never mind. Let's continue. Here we go.
Said never mind.
Heteronormativity, which is a big word for relationships, marriage. It's just between a man and a woman. It's the patriarchal family as we understand it. What's important to us in Black Lives?
However, see, that's another argument that comes out in a lot of different conversations. Patriarchy, right? However, That's the same structure that they're talking about when they say that they want to get funds and shit. So you're going to talk about it, but also ask it for assistance? The goddamn cameras that they're using, the room that they're sitting in, the clothes that they have on, right? The technology, all of that shit to broadcast for them to be able to be seen on this shit, they would classify as patriarchal, right? So, as long as it has benefits to you, then it's acceptable. However, when it doesn't, there's an issue. Is that what's being said, Rush?
Definitely.
Interesting. Let's see what she says about the queer. Let's finish hearing what she had to say about the queerness. Yes.
Matter is that we are elevating and cultivating the leadership of folks who have not been included in the conversation. That includes Black trans women. That includes Black immigrant women, Black disabled folks, Black incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people. So to us, right, we're really trying to queer our movement. We know even in our tradition and our legacy.
Queer.
You heard? Let me go back.
Queer our movement.
Here we go. Let's see.
It's Black immigrant women, Black disabled folks, Black incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people. So to us, right, we're really trying to queer our movement. We know even in our tradition and our legacy of Black liberation that queer and trans folks have been in the leadership, however, have had to kind of cut pieces of themselves off because it wasn't acceptable. Lord Rustin being an incredible example of that. Audre Lorde being an incredible example of that, right? We want to create a different kind of movement culture. We think it's important, we think we need it, and we don't think that we can survive without it.
So I hear that and I think fantastic. The more the better. The more space.
The more the better.
Fantastic.
The better. Other people hear it and they say, ooh, that sounds scary. Right? I mean, we've seen that reaction in social media. How do we get beyond that? How do you work with people to get beyond their fears and instead embrace what our world might be like if everybody got to be their whole selves?
You know, honestly, the first thing.
The fuck she mean by whole self, Resh? What the fuck does that mean? Their whole self.
I don't know.
Bitch, you trying to insinuate that I have queer within me? What does that mean? My whole self. Yes, I am suppressing some things about myself. Because I don't know why. I'm just doing it. So says this white woman, suspected racist and one of the biggest agents ever. You want to talk about a goddamn agent? Go look at them white women. Okay? Nobody want to talk about them though, Resh. The white man. That dumbass shit from the goddamn 60s and shit. Have we not outgrown this goddamn shit? The white man. White man is singular. It's singular, Resh. I mean,
he get a pass.
The bitch get a pass. You know what I'm saying? Yo, she been oppressed by the white man too. You know what I'm saying? She ain't got nothing to do. Even though there is ample, a myriad of motherfucking text and shit that have been written about white women's role in this shit and continued role in this shit. But this bitch get a pass. These bitches. My bad. I'm falling back into the fuck shit. I'm off that cold.
Oh well.
You know what I'm saying? God damn. The white man. That shit sounds asinine than a motherfucker. And yet we still hear a lot of us saying that shit. It's the white man. And then when you press them on it to get clarity, well, of course, that's including the white woman. What? So let's review. If you told this to a baby who is trying to get understanding of the landscape and shit, and you said the white man, of course they will understand that shit off the rip. Be like, yep, yep, that mean white women too and white children. Yep, the white man, that means all of them. Yep. I got you. I got you. That's the dumbest shit ever. I mean, come on. Come on. We'll say you, Resh.
The white man. I mean, yeah, like I say, man, if my motherfucking, I can't sit my children down. I'm not saying all conversations is for children, but you know, shit, they gonna get it at some time in the stage. So it's like, if there's no clarity in the conversation as far as explaining shit in depth, you know, that's why children ask why. They ask, because a lot of times, shit, as adults, motherfuckers be halfway explaining that shit. Then as children listen to our conversation and we think they don't listen to our conversation, they listening and they not even understanding what the fuck we saying. They like, what the fuck type sense is that? That's like the young baby, the young female who was sitting there watching I think that was I don't know if that was her mother or older sister who was putting on the blonde hair on. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, I'm not black, my skin brown, and you know, what the fuck? Why you got that blonde hair? Do you want to be Caucasian?
You think you Caucasian?
Right.
You think you Caucasian? Yeah, the baby was on it.
Right. Hell yeah. Matter of fact, shit, the other day, I'm motherfucking, I'm going to get me something to eat. I see and it's not throwing under the bus, but I'm just saying, I seen a bath with a bright blonde ass wig. And it was these two white women, some college white women, jogging down the street. And they actually stopped and laughed at her. And she kept walking like she didn't see them, but she saw that shit. I'm like, damn, I wish I could have got my camera out quick enough and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because shit was interesting. You know what I'm saying?
It sounds
interesting that they even had to stop and laugh at the situation and shit. But I'm not saying, you know, I don't like the baths out there that do be rocking the honey blonde and shit. You know what I'm saying? Keep doing your thing for those that's out there fried down and laying it to the side. But you know, keep this shit tight. You know what I'm saying? Don't be raggedy with it. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. It's a whole. It's like I'm 50-50 on this. Like I understand the psychological part about it, but at the same time, I ain't knocking a couple of the baths that be rocking it because they be still looking good with it too.
One of the interesting parts that I seen, Resh, is that it's been my personal experience, right? That baps who rock weaves or perms and shit like that, they are more approachable and more motherfucking friendly than some of the baps who I've seen with fucking naturals. It's like they expect more because they went natural. But what? You did that shit for you. What the fuck you mean?
They got us now.
You did? Hey, I'm the God. Lay fucking gifts at my feet and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? You got me fucked up. No. I didn't ask you to lay gifts at my motherfucking feet. I'm damn sure not laying them at yours.
Across the country to meet me.
You feel? Got me fucked up.
Hey, motherfuckers took that motherfucking princess story of a motherfucker going across all this warrior shit. This the shit at the edge of the tower. Get the princess out the fucking castle, and these motherfuckers, they motherfucking internet. Cause this whole country community it's really an online mostly. You know, a couple of us. You know, I'm not gonna say us because I'm not included in so-called country community. It's not a community. But I'm talking about social groups. It's a lot of different places for events and things of that nature, or even business and work or things of that nature. But it's just it's like, you know, motherfuckers be doing this online and shit and flying across to go get this shit, and it's like, man, this from straight out the motherfucking Fabio book. You know I'm saying? Like,
My
we done
granny
took
used to
they
read that
stories,
shit.
right, and put it into our old hotepping ass stories. Now we got these hotepping ass motherfucking fantasies of motherfuckers taking Greyhounds and shit and Amtrak and Midway across the motherfucking, or Midwest, whatever the fuck, all the way across the country and shit.
To go see the
And
queen.
spirit deals and shit. Right, to go see the Queen Goddess and get there and be disappointed because now you got catfish.
You did.
Now you got catfish. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good.
Shit. Hey,
You can.
hey, if that's what you doing, that's your motherfucking fault. Shit, you know what I'm saying? Should have asked for a goddamn immediate picture. You know what I'm saying? Let me see it now, goddamn it. Let me see the time stamp on that goddamn picture. Okay?
Man, why you don't never want to FaceTime?
Why is always talk? Why you always want to just talk, motherfucker? Shit.
For real. So, you know, it is what it is. Motherfuckers be in these motherfuckers. And that's why I say they shape our fantasies either and our dreams too.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's the social engineering that they done got us and shit. You know, it's still their motherfucking plot of the story, but just with different characters, and just it's like us putting, you know, just their plot. It's already in our motherfucking zip drive, and we searching back into our motherfucking either what you want to call it our Aboriginal or our Native or our African or all of that, but it still got their plot in it. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. So it's like, man, we need to understand that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm still a victim. I still suffer from the shit all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on it. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, it's like I do check myself on a lot of things. Like, man, you know, this shit ain't right. And I also, you know, pull up others that's around me so we don't perpetuate, you know, stupid behavior.
Absolutely. You know, we don't wanna deal with shit like that though, famo. You know, that's just it's too motherfucking in our face. It's too uncomfortable. Too uncomfortable. Let's hear what they have to say. Hold on. Here we go.
Thing that we do is we start with the people who are already ready and have been waiting for a long time for a movement like this to emerge. And then what we do is we create spaces that feel
I wonder is Ngazi. I think that's his name. Ngazi. With them.
And then ultimately, it's not something that you can even deny. It's something that feels so good you want to be a part of it. Because when you look around you, it's so reflective of what our
feels so good,
like.
Resh.
You can't avoid that, right? And we encourage people to lean in into what's uncomfortable about this for you,
feels gay
but
as
also
hell.
do the work. Right?
Feels good.
What is making you so uncomfortable about standing side by side with somebody who's queer or trans?
Gay old
Because
time.
you're doing it every day in your life. You run away from the people in your workplace or in your community who are different than you. I think one of the things that's important to talk about is this notion of solidarity. And oftentimes, the way that I've heard about it, at least, is about trying to homogenize people, right? We're all the same. We've got the same fight. You know, the reality is we're not. And that's what makes us so beautiful, is that we're complex beings. Right? And so if we can celebrate those differences and learn from them, we can actually build better strategy together.
Really?
We've had a conversation here where we haven't mentioned police prosecutions even once. It would be
Right.
great to get some prosecutions
some
when
shit.
police commit crimes
Interesting.
that other people would be prosecuted for. But it's not
It
all
took
that
the
you'll
white
make about
woman
it, and I guess
to
that's why
realize
I'm bringing
that?
it up at the end of our
that some
conversation. But
shit?
the demands, insofar as there are demands of Black Lives Matter, how would you characterize them?
I'm so glad you asked that question. You know, people are always like, what are the demands? And let me tell you, they're nothing different than what Black people have been fighting for the last 500 years. We want
Really?
housing that's quality and affordable. We want free education.
We want.
communities where people can live in dignity.
We
want
want.
to be able to live with our families without fear of being murdered by the people who are supposed to be protecting us.
We want.
We want full and fair employment for everyone. We want all the things that we have been fighting for since our people were brought here as slaves from Africa. So this is not a new set of demands, but it's certainly a new political moment where we have the opportunity to join movements together across these issue silos, which are not ways that people live their lives, right? And really try to advance a new program for liberation in this country. And we're just getting started.
Shit, huh?
And your relationship to party politics, electoral politics, Hillary Clinton?
Well, I think what's important is to hear from them what is their relationship to social movements that are happening in this country. Again, I'm curious, and I keep waiting to hear from folks beyond the slogan that they believe that Black Lives Matter. What are you actually going to do to ensure that Black Lives Matter? That's the real conversation we want to have.
And your inspiration?
My mother. My mother is my entire inspiration. She's just an amazing woman who fought with hell to make sure that I had everything that I needed and that I always believed that anything was possible. And she's a woman who's encouraged me to take risks and to be my weird self. And because of that, I'm so, so grateful. And I'm just inspired by her tenacity and her determination. And I'm inspired by the way that she supports me no matter what. And I love her to death.
Alicia, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for
coming.
coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Wow.
You see, it's very interesting. Very fucking interesting. You got any closing commentary on this shit, Famo? Before we wrap it up.
Shit, I mean, we basically started it out basically with the whole provision and protection. Noticing that, putting that on the table.
Yep.
Basically with that provision and protection, it was more about more support in the community. We also got that it is a queer movement and they're trying to queer it all out. For those who don't have a voice and never was talked about, she avoided the question about capitalism because that basically will go against the very system that she's asking, demands that she basically gave a list of wants and then ended it with what we demanding, like she has leverage. And then also mixing in the so-called Women's Foundation of domestic work, the domestic workers basically, and it was women's, mostly majority women. And it's just women, and it's cool. It's cool if groups of have created things. That's cool, but it's like the intentions of creating something is not really what I'm seeing here. It's still basically asking for more comfortability in the prison that we in. How like if a motherfucker locked up in jail, it's like with shit. You know what I'm saying? If we had extra mats, double the mats out.
Can I get a fresh bar of soap?
Right. Give us 3 different choices on the list. You know what I'm saying? Of the soaps, shower shoes, all that shit. But they, you know what I'm saying? It's still inside this so-called system. It's not like even the suspect even came and said that, hey, we haven't even talked about the prison guards fucking y'all up in this motherfucker. We haven't talked about that. We ain't talked about the prison guards hanging y'all from the showers in this motherfucker. You just took a shower in that same shower this morning. Type shit. You feel what I'm saying? I'm just, I'm using the metaphor of, you know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't talking about that. We talking about y'all just want more Zuzus and Wan-Wans added to the commissary.
What you want. That's what we talking about. What you want. Interesting. I agree with the family.
And sparkly shit. That's what I want. I want more pink and sparkly shit. More glitters.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with the famo. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, this is where it is. And again, this is about observation, because that's what we do around this motherfucker. Observing it and then, giving you different perspectives to come to your own conclusion. We are not your motherfucking leaders. We are slaves ourselves, unfortunately. Right? So with that being motherfucking said, on my Pharaoh shit, my young Pharaoh shit, peace to the famo, come to your own conclusion. You know, no need to fucking name call and all that fuck shit. Coon, baby. Listen, that shit don't do nothing. It does nothing. It's just a fucking name calling thing. Children do that shit all day. Okay? So you come to your own conclusion on this shit, and we appreciate the famo coming out if you hear this shit afterwards, or if you were on live listening. We appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Check out Asir Resh on the motherfucking BCG gang. Matter of fact, I'm gonna let him tell all the things he got going on. Go ahead, Resh.
Gang. Oh yeah. Catch me out there on the block all day, every day.
On the block.
That is. Blockchain gang. Basically, I'm about to be having a little series of Bitcoin or BitConnect. You guys gonna follow me with my journey of my little $100 deposit and my investment and reinvestment. Walk you through that. I'm also be talking about different coins and how to judge when you're supposed to get in a buy and maybe want to sell. Highs and lows and different terminologies as far as reversals and whales, bears,
fish,
bulls, all deposits, how you set up your accounts. We're just gonna go through the whole journey of just trying to set up getting everybody to think about investment in cryptocurrency and other things, also stocks. We're gonna be talking about I guess what you want to call this? You want to call this the apply yourself version of Facebook Live radio. We basically gonna be doing that. Also, we're gonna be doing simulcasting. I'm gonna have a couple of famos come on there and join me as far as asking me different questions on different things that they didn't have, that they didn't know about. Things that can help them as far as setting up wallets, paper wallets, cold wallets, things of that nature. Anything. We're gonna just lay it all out there, and we just gonna keep going with this series, and we just gonna keep trying to simulcast it. We gonna just keep trying to throw some things out there so y'all can get some resources going. And only 1% of the world know about this. I'll put that out there for the famo. Only 1% of the world know about this. So we're gonna make sure the famo get to hear all of it first right here on Facebook Live Radio, and also catch me on my YouTube channel, Resh Blockchain Gang BCG, and I'm out.
Gang. And this is your famo motherfucking off code. You can catch me here. I will be putting more videos up in this motherfucker so that you can see our paradigm and shit as it evolves, because it's motherfucking dynamic. It's not static. It could shift with things that make more sense. You dig? It's not religious. You can check me out on motherfucking Facebook. Type in Bill Willis. Motherfuckers made me change the motherfucking name and shit, so I had to come up with something. So I put Bill Willis. You dig? Check me out on there. And we appreciate y'all coming out to support Facebook Live Internet Radio on YouTube. And with that, Off Code and the famo, Siresh, BCG, gang. Out.
You are now tuned into
Facebook Live
Internet Radio.
Radio, we got it on live. Catch up, new era disseminators of information. Comfortable truth, this your motherfucking station.
Facebook Live.
Internet radio.